Welcome back guys to a brand new episode of our shopping list app tutorial. As I already told you, in this video we'll do some improvements to our code and we'll implement the sign out options. We'll also do a quick review about our authentication process. First, let's open our login activity. As you can see, we have now 124 lines of code. If we take a closer look at the onSuccess listener interface, we see that is written in gray. This is because this interface is a functional interface. A functional interface is an interface that contains exactly one abstract method. In this case, Android Studio is smart enough and knows that we can implement its method using a lambda expression. Let's replace it. And let's do this for all the remaining ones. Now let's go to the code menu and hit Optimize imports to remove all the unnecessary imports. Now, as you can see, we have only 98 lines of code. Pretty cool, isn't it? If you want to read more about functional interfaces, there is also a link in the description below with one of my answers from Stack Overflow. Now, let's go ahead and implement the sign out options. First, let's also get the user email from our Google Sign-in account object. Let's make both variable global. Now let's get our Google API client object. Equals new Google API client builder and pass this. Now we can call at API auth.google sign in API and then simply call build. Now having this Google API client object, we can call connect or disconnect according to the life cycle of our activity. Let's override now the onStart and onStop methods. OnStart, onStop methods. Let's create the Google API client variable also global. When we first start the activity, we need to connect our Google API client. So let's add connect in onStart. And when we close the application, we need to disconnect it. We need to add an if statement inside onStop method. If is connected, then disconnected. And that's it. Now let's copy some code from the login activity. And paste it here. But here we need to check if the Firebase user is equal with null. If it's null, it means that the user is not authenticated and we need to redirect him to the login activity. And delete this. In this activity, we also need to use the auth listener in the onStart method. So just simply copy this line of code and paste it here. Next, we need to add the sign in button. If you remember from our introduction video, the sign in button was placed in the menu. For this, we need to implement two more methods: the onCreateOptions menu and the onOptions item selected. Let's do this. onCreateOptions menu and onOptions item selected. Let's create now a layout for our menu. We need to go to res, right-click New, Directory, and simply call it Menu. Now go to the menu, right-click New, Menu Resource File, and name it Main Menu, and hit OK. And here we need to add only a single menu item. Let's give it an ID, let's say Sign Out button. Let's give it also a title, let's say Sign Out. Let's give it also an order in the category, and let's say 100, and show action, let's say Never. You can extract the title into a resource file instead of being hard-coded, but it's up to you. Now let's inflate this layout by calling a method name get menu inflator dot inflate and pass r.menu dot main menu, and that's the second argument, also a menu, and return true. In the onOptions item selected method, we need to create a switch statement. So switch and pass item, get item ID. Now let's create the cases. First case is r.id.signout button. Here we can call a signout method and return also true. Let's create the second case, which is default, and here we need to return super dot onOptions item selected method and pass the item as an argument. Let's arrange these lines and create the signout method. But actually, before signing out, there is something that we need to do. We need to delete the token ID from the database, so next time we are signing in, to get a fresh one. So let's create a method. We have private void signout. First, we need to create a map. String an object, we call it map equals new hash map. And we put inside this map the token ID and the field value dot delete. Now let's get a reference. Let's use our root ref collection and pass user string, and then call document and pass user email as an argument, and call update and pass the map. We can add an onSuccess listener, and don't forget the semicolon. So once we have successfully deleted the token ID, we can sign out Firebase and Google. So inside onSuccess method, simply call Firebase auth.signout. Let's create an if statement. So if Google API client is connected, then get the auth Google sign in API and call signout and pass the Google API client as an object. And that's it. Let's see if this works in our emulator. I have my emulator running. Let's sign in, choose an account, and as you can see, the token ID was added to the database. Let's sign out. The token ID was deleted. Let's do it again. Sign in, and let's sign out. And the token ID was deleted again. So that's it with our sign out operation. Let's do, guys, a quick review of our authentication process. So first, we have created a sign-in button and set on-click listener on it. When a user clicks this button, we start the intent to prompt the user to select the Google account to sign in with. Then, in our onActivity result method, we get the Google sign-in account object that contains user credentials. Using these credentials, we can sign in to Firebase and create the user in our Firestore database. So that's it, guys, with this video. In the next episode, we'll start adding shopping lists to our app. So hope you guys enjoy it and see you in the next